Hi, welcome to the QMS training session for the month of March 2022. In this presentation, you are going to learn the complete concept of ISO 9001 2015 system, which we have adapted and been following since 2019. This training session will let you understand the concept as well as benefits of adapting to the ISO system, which stands the same globally with irrespective of the industry. ISO acronym stands for International Organization for Standardization. ISO standards are internationally agreed by experts. Think of them as a formula that describes the best way of doing something. It could be making product or making a process, delivering service or supplying materials. There are various series of guidelines available for different functions. In this ISO 9001 sets out the criteria for quality management system. This standards is based on the number of quality management principles, including a strong customer focus, the motivation and implication of top management, the process approach and continual improvement. ISO 9001-2015 standards has 10 clauses to illustrate the quality management system. Implementation of clauses 4 to 10 are mandatory requirement. Here we can see all 10 classes of ISO 9001 standards. Class 1 scope, Class 2 normative references, Class 3 terms and definitions, Class 4 context of the organization, Class 5 leadership, Class 6 planning, Class 7 and 8 support and operation, Class 9 performance evaluation, Class 10 improvement. The core concept of ISO is explained by PDCA cycle. Here we can see the integration of ISO 9001 clauses from 4 to 10 with PDCA cycle. Each clause has specified specific functions that are need to be followed with respect to the PDCA cycle to ensure the continual improvement. This is a quick view of the major clauses and sub clauses of the ISO 9001 system by PDCA cycle. Let's talk for a moment and see why does any organization need to adopt the ISO 9001-2015 standards. Implementation of any internationally approved and accepted standards makes any organization better in all the possible ways to compete with peers. For any ideas of a business, if we adopt the ISO standards, it ensures the improvement, customer satisfaction, identifying and addressing the risk, meeting the requirements and expanding the market. Some of the information available in the internet states the benefits to the various industries is as shown as a reference. Here comes the ISO class 4. Class 4 is context of the organization. The subclass 4.1 is understanding the organization and its context. Illustrates that organization shall determine external and internal issues that are relevant to its purpose and strategic direction and that affect its ability to achieve the intended results of a quality management system. The organization shall monitor and review the information about these external and internal issues. Here are the identified internal and external issues. The organization must determine the interested parties that are relevant to the QMS and the requirement of these interested parties that are relevant to the QMS. The organization shall monitor and review the information about these interested parties and their relevant requirements. The organization shall determine the boundaries and applicability of the QMS to establish the scope, and same shall be documented. While determining, following shall be considered: the external and internal issues, the requirements of the relevant and interested parties, and the products and services of the organization. For implementing the QMS system, the organization shall determine the process inputs and outputs, sequence, interactions, criteria, and methods needed for effective operations, and also resources, responsibilities, authorities, changes, risks, and opportunities. This should be documented, and documented information must be retained and maintained to use for an evidence-based decision making. Top management shall demonstrate leadership and commitment with respect to the quality management system and customer focus by ensuring that the quality policies and quality objectives are established for QMS and are compatible with the context and strategic directions of the organization. Top management shall ensure that the responsibilities and authorities for relevant roles are assigned and communicated and understood within the organization. All aspects must be documented and communicated to all the targeted audience. Organization shall plan the actions to address the risk and opportunities, quality objectives, and changes. Organization shall consider all risks and opportunities that are need to be addressed using the risk management system. Organization shall plan how to integrate and implement the actions into its quality management system process and evaluate the effectiveness of these actions. The organization shall establish quality objective at relevant functions, levels, and process needed for the quality management system. The quality objectives shall be consistent and measurable, relevant to the enhancement of customer satisfaction, and shall be monitored, communicated, and updated as appropriate. So simply the objective shall be SMART. So this is the planning of a changes. So have you ever thought why do we need to plan a change and manage a change? Organization must know the purpose of the change and their potential consequences and the integrity of the quality management system and also the availability of the resources and the allocation or relocation of responsibilities and authorities. There are two types of changes as permanent and temporary, and these changes are categorized into two types, major and minor, based on the impact by the change. So here is the flowchart for change management procedure. All the changes shall be reviewed and impact shall be assessed prior to the implementation of any change. The ISO class 7 illustrate about the support. The organization needs to provide the adequate resources like people, infrastructure, environment, knowledge, required internal sources and external providers as applicable, and has to monitor and measure these resources. Organization shall determine the competence of persons working in the quality management system by ensuring education, training, and its effectiveness evaluation. Competent persons play key role in achieving the organization's quality objectives. Organization shall provide the awareness on quality objectives, quality policies, and their contribution toward the QMS system, and on implication of non-conforming the QMS system. Organization need to determine and communicate these quality objectives with the respective interested parties as applicable. With respect to the ISO quality management system, every activity shall be documented, and this data cycle will show us the cyclic process involved in the handling of documenting procedure. ISO class 8 illustrates about the operational guidelines. Organization should have a written documented operational planning and control over the operations and criteria for acceptance of the products and services. If any changes in this operation planning shall be controlled through change management procedure. All the requirements for the planned products or services shall be identified. All the requirements shall be determined, reviewed and communicated to the customer. If changes to this requirement shall be controlled. Organization shall establish, implement and maintain a design and development process that is appropriate to ensure the subsequent provisions of products and services. The design and development planning shall be considered nature, duration, review, verification, responsibilities, internal and external resources needs, and involvement of customers. After design and development planning, design and development inputs shall be identified and control shall be ensured. In continuation, design and development outputs and changes shall be controlled. These outputs shall be meet the requirements, and all the changes to the design shall be reviewed and authorized. Clause 8.4 provides a clear view on how to control the external provider process, products and services. By placing the controls over the external provider process, products and services, we can assure that the desired output required by the organization. Information for external providers. Organization shall communicate the requirements for the process, products, services, methods, equipments, competence to the external providers to receive the required materials or service. Clause 8.5 is about handling of production and service provisions. This section briefs about the control, identification, traceability, preservation, post-delivery activities, and control of changes. Clause 8.6 is about the product services release with respect to the satisfactory output and authorization to the preset standards. Organization has to retain the documented information like evidence of conformity with the acceptance criteria and traceability of the person authorizing the release. Clause 8.7 provides the guidance on controlling of non-conforming outputs. Organization needs to identify and document and evaluate, investigate and implement appropriate corrective and preventive actions against the non-conformities. Clause 9 is all about evaluating the performance by monitoring, measuring, analysis and evaluation. In general, the organization shall monitor the performance in regular intervals by evaluation of process and outputs. Customer satisfaction shall be evaluated to identify the strengths and improvement areas. Results of analysis shall be used to evaluate the conformity of the products and services, degree of customer satisfaction, and effectiveness of the actions taken to address the risk and opportunities, performance of external providers and need for improvement of quality management system. The organization shall conduct internal audit and planned intervals to verify that the quality management system conforms to the organization's own requirements and the requirements of the international standards. The internal audit process is by preparing an agenda with scope, time, auditee and auditor's details and circulating it to the relevant teams. Audit shall be conducted as per the scope defined in the agenda and all identified non-conformances shall be reported. Auditee shall address the non-conformities by proposing appropriate corrective and preventive actions. Auditors shall verify the compliance status and close the audit cycle. As part of the performance evaluation, management should conduct a review meeting in a specified intervals and review all the organization issues. Performance of the QMS system and customer satisfaction, status of the objectives, audit results, non-conformities, resources, compliance, major changes and performance of the external vendors. The outcome of this meeting will opportunity and improves any needs for changes to the quality management system and resources needed. The process of the management review meeting is shown in this slide. Clause 10 illustrates about the improvement. Organization shall determine the strategic approaches for improving the quality management system to meet customer requirements and enhance customer satisfaction and address the future needs and expectations. Organization shall continuously look over the non-conformities to improve appropriate corrective action to not to repeat the same. For each non-conforming outputs, organization has to correct it, deal with its consequences and evaluate the need for action to eliminate the causes. The organization shall continuously improve the suitability, adequacy and effectiveness of the quality management system. Thank you very much for your interest in the learning about ISO 9000 standards. Please reach out to the QA team for any queries. Please answer your questionnaire and mark your attendance. Have a nice day.